you caught me building the set. For today's video, I listened to all of Hobo Johnson's discography. It was horrible. Truly, I lost my mind the entire way through. I'll be back in a minute. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Bye, I'm gonna keep doing the thing. Man, hello. I'm back with this noir aesthetic. I can't do a transatlantic accent. I'm not gonna do the accent. That was horrible. You like the fit though. I can't do a 360 because I'm a PNG, but yeah, I could do a little spin. Yeah, look at the spin. Yeah, you like the set? I found it on Google. I searched up detective room. Yep, pretty nice room. Anyways, let's get to the video. Frank George Lopez Jr., better known to the world as Hobo Johnson, was born in Sacramento, California, December 22nd, 1994. And he would later go on to become one of the worst artists of all time.
Hobo Johnson's 94 Corolla.
Hobo Johnson's 94 Corolla is the origin story to what would become, Hobo Johnson. The Corolla is a metaphor for the house he grew up in. Yeah, at one point in the album, his dad literally kicks him out of the house.
Senior says,
Get out of the Corolla.
and he says,
No, thank you. I don't, where would I go?
Senior replies,
Figure it out. Not my problem.
I don't know how real that is to the actual story because I didn't do enough research. But it's supposed to be a metaphor. In concept, this album is supposed to be pretty fucking good, but he fails in every way possible. Bad writing, bad performances, and terrible beats make this album virtually unlistenable. This is one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my entire life. This album isn't on DSPs, so if you are a Hobo Johnson fan and you want to see an early concept of what would be his second album, The Rise of Hobo Johnson, this is a cool thing to listen to for what would become the blueprint for his future albums. But ultimately, I can only give this album a 2 out of 10.
Rise of Hobo Johnson.
The Rise of Hobo Johnson builds on what 94 Corolla set out to be, but it's very easy to build upon nothing. 94 Corolla was bad, and The Rise of Hobo Johnson is only slightly better, with songs like DeMarcus Cousins and Ashley being horrible additions to the album that weigh it down heavily.
Not a nice guy. He's not a nice guy. I go to jail sometimes.
But that's not to say that the album doesn't have good, or I would more accurately describe them as decent songs. There's probably the best song on the album, Romeo and Juliet, which is basically him talking about his parents' divorce and how it affected him, on top of how he sees love and what he would do to avoid the 50% divorce rate in the US. My favorite song on this album was probably 3%, and it was so close to getting added into my playlist, but the vocals single-handedly bring it down so much. It is the biggest missed opportunity on this entire album. This could have been an actually good song if the performance was just better. He sounds like Morty, and I just can't get past it. Overall, this album is only slightly better than 94 Corolla. This album is a 3.5 out of 10. The Fall of Hobo Johnson is the third album, and it is his best. If you want to give Hobo Johnson a genuine try, this is his best album. I doubt anyone really has to, because this entire video was sparked out of hate, so I guarantee you no one wants to actually be a fan of Hobo Johnson. You probably all clicked on this just to hate, but this album is his best album, and it's still only a 6 out of 10. There's great songs on here like I Want a Dog, All in My Head, and Happiness. These songs are pretty good, and the vocals don't hold it back as much because the beats are significantly better. But still, there are weak moments in the track list, like Moonlight. Moonlight sounds like a soundboard is having a fucking seizure. Not only that, but I don't really remember anything lyrically from it. Another weak track on here is Subaru Cross Trek. It's literally just a Subaru ad, and when I looked it up, he literally just likes Subarus, and that's why he made the song. I would never listen to the song, but if Subaru were to put in a commercial, it would, not gonna lie, it would be a pretty good commercial. It's a good ad song, but I would never listen to it. Yeah, but like I said before, it's still only a 6 out of 10 album, and I think this is his best work. The peaks on this album are insanely high, but the lows are still low. There's still moments in which he throws in these corny, bad lines. And some concepts like February 15th are done really bad, where the instrumental is supposed to represent him having like a mental breakdown, but I don't care to listen to it because it sounds like a bunch of bullshit strapped together with a guy screaming on top of it. Ultimately, if you are able to get past his vocals, this is a really good album, and if he were to have a better performance, this album would be a really great album. This would be a solid 8 out of 10 album if he were to improve the vocals alone. The cringy and corny lines on this album are brought down to a minimum. This album could be great if he just decided to work on his vocals. There is I think a 5-year difference between 94 Corolla and the fall of Hobo Johnson, and he has not worked on his vocals. His vocals are single-handedly holding him back from being an amazing artist. Editor here, I recorded all the audios on my first listen, and this is the only album that went down after the 3 listens that I do on every album. It went down 1 point. Yeah, that's really it. Yeah.
The Revenge of Hobo Johnson.
If I could use a handful of words to describe this album, I would use gentrification. The album. 2 out of 10.
Hobo Johnson alienates his fan base.
Podcast. That is what this was. It was a fucking podcast. This was a podcast disguised as an album. I will say that the lo-fi beats are pretty nice, and he did self-produce them, so if he ever makes a purely instrumental album, I will be listening, because the lo-fi beats were good, but this was a fucking podcast. Hobo Johnson Drinks is the last album, thank God, but it is his most mediocre album. The first 3 albums had notes, but as time went on, I found the notes redundant because it's the same issues over and over and over and over again, with him unable or unwilling to change anything. I think this album is just a more realized, focused, more mature version of the rise of Hobo Johnson. This is ultimately just a 5 out of 10. He didn't do anything great. It was just okay. Okay, editor's note here. like I said, most of these recordings are on first listen, so after third listen, I felt like some of the songs were even worse than before. Ultimately, it's only a 4 out of 10, close to 5, but the first 3 tracks weigh it down so heavily. These were some of the most generic dog shit songs I've ever heard in my entire life. 0 out of 10 for all of them. Okay, so now that I've listened to all of his albums, I have some theories on why people listen to him. Number 1 is raw emotion. His music is fucking trash and his performance is horrible, but it does display raw emotion to a degree that 99% of artists really don't do. Next is relatable topics, and the spoken word aspect of his music is something I don't really hear many people do, or at least do. Actually, that's it. I just don't hear people do that. But we won't know till we do some light advanced interrogation.
Why do you listen to Hobo Johnson? Liar! Tell me the real reason you listen to Hobo Johnson. Liar! Liar! Tell me the real reason you listen to Hobo Johnson. Oh, okay, let me read that. Yeah, just give it to me. Yeah.
Okay, after some light advanced interrogation tactics and a visit to Reddit, my theories were confirmed. But something I don't understand is why they would listen to worse versions of already existing songs. Like, the entirety of For Your Eyes Only is every Hobo Johnson song has ever made, but better. And Mr. Morale is a better version of the more therapeutic type music that Hobo Johnson makes later in his career. Also, whenever he tries to get political, other rappers have just done it better. In every single way possible. But let's get a little broader with the comparisons rather than a one-to-one. Let's focus on the conscious rap aspect of his music, because as his discography goes on, it is a bigger and bigger part of his music. Let's start off by comparing it to something that is great but not groundbreaking. Born Sinner by J. Cole. This sophomore album explores the duality of man, temptation, fame, and J. Cole's personal sins/mistakes. At this point in his career, J. Cole is still trying to prove himself to the world and even some of his idols, like Nas. On the song Let Nas Down, J. Cole says, "I always believed in the bigger picture.
To listen outside my car, then I can open the door. Reintroduce them to honesty, show them that they need more. The difference between the pretenders and the Kendrick Lamars."
J. Cole with this one line says he's trying to change the very nature of people. If he could get them to listen to his music, he could help them, make them better in some sort of way, you know? On the other hand, anytime Hobo Johnson tries to get conscious, it's about how sad he is a girl left him, and he goes, "Well, that's life." Then proceeds to ramble about socialism and the US government, and not in a good way either. I know someone who did do it good though, or did it well. I can't speak. Hobo Johnson just lacks the artistic capabilities to make me want to listen or even care about anything that he says. For example, on a song like Folding Clothes, J. Cole talks about leaving the fast life to live something a lot simpler, safer, and how he's giving it up and how he's actively working harder to deinstitutionalize? Is that a word? Deinstitutionalize? I don't know. He's trying to rehabilitate himself into the world again, and to be with his wife and daughter. The album is from the perspective of one of J. Cole's dead friends, so it's not J. Cole saying that, it's from the perspective of his friend, but that song itself holds so much more deeper meaning, even if people do find it corny, it holds significantly deeper meaning than really 99% of Hobo Johnson's discography in general. In conclusion, well, Hobo Johnson is just a bad artist. Not because he lacks creativity. He's a very creative artist, but he just lacks in execution. He refuses to put the work in. There's an 11-year difference between 94 Corolla and Hobo Johnson Drinks, and there is minimal improvement. A lot of the songs he made could have been hits if he just worked on his vocals and just became a better writer over time. That's not to say he didn't make at least a handful of good songs. I think there's 2 songs of his that I enjoy, if I wasn't brainwashed at the time of listening to him, because it was literally just days of listening to Hobo Johnson. If you are a Hobo Johnson fan, stop. Just stop. Stop doing that. If you want to listen to something that's good but still on that personal level of Hobo Johnson, go listen to KOD or Mr. Morale. Like, those are significantly better alternatives. Significantly. Please listen to better music. This was the worst experience of my entire life. My friend wanted to blow his brains out after just 4 songs. Okay, that's the entire song. He just repeats that over and over again. What are your thoughts?
Bro, I'm just mad. I'm just mad. Like, this is how I'm spending my night. I'm just mad.
It's not that bad.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And I listened to like 70 of them. Multiple times. So, what is the final artist score? Wait, I should just do a drum roll. Drum roll. Start the drum roll. The final artist score is 4 out of 10. Ultimately, although Hobo Johnson is a really bad artist, there is potential. I think The Fall of Hobo Johnson is by far his best album, and most of his detriment that comes from his catalog is due to laziness and lack of effort. Ultimately, his untapped potential is due to the fact that he refuses to change. I think Hobo Johnson could drop an amazing album. I don't think it would be like album of the year, but he refuses to change, which is his biggest detriment. He could make something great. He has proven it on something like All in My Head and I Want a Dog. Those songs are really good. I would highly recommend listening to those, especially if you're more into like softer pop songs. It's more adjacent to pop than it is to rap. Most of his albums suck. I would not recommend listening to a full album at all unless it is The Fall of Hobo Johnson. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. This video was supposed to come out like 3.5 weeks ago, I think. I lost track. I got sick. I went through like 4 days of an insane migraine that I just wasn't able to shake, and I was just had to lay in my room the entire time. So yeah, thank you. Okay, a little post-credit rant or post-thing rant. I don't know. The post-credit rant. Fuck it. Post-credit rant. Right after listening to 94 Corolla, I went on a date, and me and the girl were talking about music, and I'm corny. I'm very corny, and I know this is going to sound very corny, but we just talked about music, why we listen to it, and, you know, that type of things, right? And I said I listen to music because I feel like it heals a part of my soul. Very corny, I know, but I mean that shit. If music heals my soul, Hobo Johnson did irreversible damage to it. Yeah, I'm gonna go listen to Aquemini or something. I don't know. Bye. Thank you. Kisses. Have a nice day.